Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Meet the Angular Team. I'm Joe Eames, your host, and we have with us today Madlina Scheidegger. How did I do on that
That's
pronunciation?
not bad. That's not bad at all. I know it's a bit of a hard one.
Awesome. Well, Madlina, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. It's a very beautiful day in California, but then again, it's mostly beautiful days in California.
Right,
So.
right. One of the big draws there for sure. Cool.
Mhm.
Well, we're excited to get to talk to you and let people know a little bit more about you and get to meet you a little bit better. So let's get right into it.
Sounds
Uh,
good.
let's start with the basic question. How'd you get into programming?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Um, I took a course in high school.
Hmm.
And so it was just one of those things where I was curious enough about it. So there was the one computer class we had in high school, and that was it. My high school did not have a lot of choices. And so that's the one I took. And I was fascinated enough to then study it. But so I'm not one of those who had a lot of things that she did in her free time outside of school to get into it. It really was just pretty much school that got me into programming.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So speaking of programming, if there was a computer programming language, one that you don't know right now that you could learn, snap your fingers and learn instantly, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, I don't know if there's one I guess actually I'm really curious about Rust now after Alex has talked about it so much. So I think I'll pick that one just because I've heard a lot about it and I know absolutely nothing about it.
It's actually a common
Alex has
common
been
answer.
evangelizing it a lot on the team, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna blame him
Okay.
for that
Okay.
answer.
All right. Cool. Uh, let's talk a little bit about Angular. What's your favorite part of Angular itself?
This is maybe very old school or based on my experience in the past, but
Hmm.
I'm I love how much it does. I was just playing with it again, and I was like, "Oh yeah, just one line to do all these things." And I'm so, for background, a lot of the frameworks I've used internally at Google have very little support in that way, and so you constantly have to do everything from scratch. And so it's still novel to me working with a framework that does so much of it.
Mm,
And I think as part of that, the other one I always like to highlight is the accessibility features that come in built in. I've worked on accessibility before, and it's so hard to get it right. And so I love the fact that we've taken that time to do it, and I think it does great things across the board. And again, it's one of those I've done it wrong a lot of times, and so anything that can save me from
right.
doing it wrong is well worth it to get it. So
Very cool. Very
yeah.
cool. Well, let's talk about the Angular team. What's your role in the Angular team, and what's a typical day like for you?
I'm the engineering manager for Angular, or at least the main engineering manager. I have sub managers underneath me now. So my day is a lot of meetings and a
Mm,
lot of emails, because my job is to help run the team, to look after my team, look after people. So it's a lot of one-on-ones, meeting with people individually, coaching them, helping them grow, but then also working with them on setting priorities, setting directions, setting goals. And as part of that, as the other set of meetings that I have a lot is working with people outside of the team, on my peer teams, customer teams internally, other teams we want to partner with, things like Chrome and the Aurora team, or other aspects of that. And so it's a lot of networking, it's a lot of talking to people, of trying to get everybody aligned and moving, roughly speaking, in the same direction.
gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Um, well, let's switch to something maybe a little bit more serious. How do
Mhm.
you deal with imposter syndrome?
I don't know if I have a great answer to that, because as with any other folks, I think a lot of us deal with it ongoing, where like as we conquer the imposter syndrome, as in we get better in this area, we then have imposter syndrome on the next one. And I don't know if I've ever found like a foolproof, recipe that makes me feel better about these things. In those moments where I have it the most, when I try and what helps me the most is take a step back and reflect on my journey, see how far I've come, and remind myself of all the things that I do, and that I do feel confident in doing.
Mhm.
Um, because it's easy to remember and easy to focus on the parts that I'm struggling, and harder to take that step back and go like, oh no, wait, but all of these other things are going well, and these things are easier to cope with. I now know them, and especially remembering of going, oh yeah, that thing used to be very hard, and now it's even much easier, as a reminder of like, oh, I've grown, I've managed to conquer aspects, skills, challenges, whatever you want to name before. And so it's that nice reminder. that I've done it in the past and therefore I can do it again. But there's
Right.
definitely a lot of moments where it hits me where I'm like, oh shoot, why do I not know this? What's happening? Why, damn it, I flubbed that answer in the meeting again. Whatever. Sometimes it's the smallest things, right? Like that remind you of it, where you're like, God damn it, I mixed up those two concepts again. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing over here. Sometimes it's big stuff, but a lot of times for me, it's also these little moments where I'm like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
That's sort of where it rears its head. And so that's when it's good to take that step back.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you. Okay. All right. Well, something a little bit more lighthearted then. If you weren't doing what you were doing, you could do
Mm.
anything. What would it be for a job?
I do like my job a lot, so I always have a hard time picking something else because I like the people part, I like the tech part and how it all comes together. But I think I'll pick my hobby at the moment where I've been getting a lot more into writing, horseback riding. And so I think if I were doing something else where I didn't have to worry about money or anything else, I might actually just ride horses a lot all day. Although I'm not sure my body would agree with that choice in career either.
Right.
But I think it would be something like that of just not competitively necessarily, just more of a fun with friends, being able to go ride in the countryside. So it's not really a career or profession as much as just a fun thing to do.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to head into our lightning round now.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of A or B choices. A or B, you get to pick one. No explanation necessarily. You could throw in one if you want. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. First one, very standard. Kirk or Picard?
This is where I have to admit I've never watched Star Trek. So I don't know if I could choose one.
All right. So are you going with no, or is there one that jump? I mean, there's still a lot of pop culture around both of them.
Yeah, neither. That's
Neither.
probably what
Okay.
I'll stick with.
All right. No, that's a good choice. That's a good choice. All right. How about this one? Ruby or Scala?
Ruby.
Ruby. Okay. I like that answer. Game of Thrones or Squid Game?
Neither. They're both too dark. I like if my fantasy has to be uplifting and fun and not enough. That they're both too violent in many ways. That's not what I want in my free time.
I resonate with that a bit. All right. Golf or mini golf?
Mini golf.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
This is one of my favorites. Manga or mangoes?
I think manga.
Okay. All right. Twilight or Batman?
Batman.
Okay.
Even though it's darker.
Right. Right. Especially this last one.
Yeah.
Probably
more the early Batman than the last one, just to be clear.
Okay. Okay. Billie Eilish or Billy Joel?
I don't listen to either much, but I'll probably pick Billy Joel.
Okay. Classic. Very nice. All right. Final one. Thor or Star-Lord?
Thor.
Thor.
I like mythology of any kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So are you picking the mythology Thor and not the Marvel Thor? Is that
I'm picking the mythology Thor, not the Marvel Thor.
Okay.
He didn't specify, so I could freely interpret, and so that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Madlena, for taking your time and speaking with us. And thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed getting to know Madlena a little bit better, and really looking forward to seeing you in person at NGConf, and hopefully everybody watching gets the chance to attend as well.
Absolutely. I'm so looking forward to it. It will be my first one, and so I'm excited to get to know people in person.
Great. Thanks again, and we will hopefully get to see all of you in the next episode of Get to Know the Angular Team. Take care.